Good evening, friends. Welcome to interview preparation session. Today I'm going to take an interview preparation session. Okay, first let's go from the basics of ML models. First question will be, what is clustering? I will be giving 2 minutes for you to respond in the chat window. Is it now clear? Is my voice clear now? Hello. Yeah, Ipsita, it's correct. Okay, let's see. Clustering Clustering is an multivariate. Clustering is multivariate statistical technique that groups observations based on their features. Clustering is a multivariate statistical technique that groups the observations based on their features. That is nothing but those observations which are having the similar features will be grouped under clusters into different clusters, means which are having a similar features, they will come under one cluster. That is what the cluster means. Then second question, what is k-means clustering? I will be giving 1 more minute for you to respond. Yeah, Epsita is responding. Okay, that's correct. Epsita. K-means clustering is an unsupervised technique. And it is a centroid based. centroid based clustering. In this type of clustering, data in this technique, the grouping of data set is done into k different clusters. Here k means in k represents number of clusters. Here data set is divided into k different clusters which are having which are having a equal number of points in the each cluster, means almost equal, not exactly equal to equal number of points, almost equal number of points in each cluster. Each cluster centroid point represents the mean of the data points lying in that clusters. If I want you to explain in depth, uh, if you if you have some points like this, you think all this has a points. Sorry for my bad drawing. Here, if you give the k means clustering, here k represents the number of clusters. If it is grouped into, if they are given something like 3, there will be 3 clusters will be formed. And and the centroid point, if it is having a centroid point here, if you think it is having a centroid point here, the centroid point is the mean of all the points which are inside these clusters. That is what k means clustering is. Okay, let's go for the next question. What is Lloyd's algorithm? Or even steps involved in Lloyd's algorithm? Okay, Lloyd's algorithm is nothing but whatever we are doing in the claiming clustering, the procedure what we follow, that is a Lloyd's algorithm. Here, Lloyd's algorithm involves steps, 4 steps. Step 1, initialization. Okay, no problem. Initialization, how the cluster should initialize. Next is assignment, and next would be update. What we should update? We should update centroid. And then what we should do? We should repeat the steps 2 and 3. Means assignment and update centroid should be repeated till what stage? Until convergence happens. Until convergence happens. Okay, what is initialization? Initialization is nothing but randomly, if we are giving k-means, in k-means we are giving k-means k number of clusters, how many it should form. For that one, we will be giving something like 3, means if you consider this is a data set, means data sets which is having a point, all the data points. You had given some randomly, you had given it should form 3 clusters, means k is equal to 3. Their initialization in the first step would be initialization. Initialization, what it do? It selects randomly 3 points. Somewhere something like this. It selects the 1 point, and it selects here one more point, and it selects one more point here. Initialization is what this is what initialization is. Next step, second step, what it does assignment. Well, what the assignment means? It calculates the distance between the centroid point and all the points. Every point, the distance will be calculated. Once the distance is calculated, what happens? It will be assigned to the cluster, whether it should be assigned to this centroid point or this centroid point or this centroid point. How it will be assigned, which is having a minimum distance, minimum Euclidean distance, so that it will form some clusters like this, 1, 2, like this it will form. You think as if it has formed like this. Now once it is done, now what happens? You can see here it is the centroid point now, but now centroid updation will be taking place. How the updation of the centroid point takes place? It takes the average of all the points present in this cluster, and the new centroid point will be somewhere here. Okay, here also it will calculate somewhere here, you think, for these clusters, and for this one also you will get the centroid point somewhere here, you think. Then what happens once it is done? Now the centroid point has changed. Now what happens? The same procedure. It 2 and 3 will be repeated, means assignment and updating of the centroid point will happen. Now what happens? Assignment. Once again, assignment of all the points should be done, right? Before that, it calculates the distance for the new centroid point. Once it is calculated, once again the same like this, clusters are formed. Till when it follows? It follows till all the cluster means convergence. Convergence, what the convergence happens means? Convergence happens means cluster, one point in the one cluster doesn't move to the other cluster. This is what means. It should not jump from one cluster to other cluster. Until that means convergence should happen till that procedure. That is what, this is how the Lloyd's algorithm works. Okay, did you got everyone? Now let's go for the next question. Yeah. Is feature scaling required for clustering? Is feature scaling required for clustering? K means clustering, sorry. I will be giving one minute for you to respond. Is feature scaling required? Why? Yeah, if feature is scaling, yes. Then why it is required? Okay. Feature scaling is required in K-means algorithm. Yes, it is required. Because why means it is data, the work normalization is done for data set so that it works properly. Here K-means algorithm is sensitive to the outliers. K-means algorithm is sensitive to outliers, so that it will also we need feature scaling. Because both here data set in the data set, both the means and the variance. Yes, it is required in K-means algorithm. It is sensitive to the outliers because the dataset had dataset in the dataset is sensitive for the mean and the variance of the dataset. So feature scaling is required. Then let's go for the next question. Which distance we will be calculating the distance for sending the data points to the clusters, right? So which distance we will be calculating the distance while assigning the data points to the cluster. Which distance is preferred? Uh, Whether Euclidean or Manhattan, which distance you prefer? Oh, why? Why we prefer Euclidean? We prefer Euclidean distance over Manhattan distance because Manhattan distance is calculated vertically and horizontally, due to which dimension it is restricted. See, if you have, if you want me to explain deeply, uh, you have 2 points. How Manhattan distance is calculated? It is calculated distance like this. Manhattan distance. It will be calculating this distance and it will be calculating this distance vertically and horizontally. This is how Manhattan distance is calculated. It was inspired from Manhattan city. It was, that's how, means how the houses are there and street, based on that it was found. But Euclidean distances, this is how the Euclidean distance is calculated. So here distance calculation, if you are doing by the Euclidean distance, dimensionality, here it is restricted to vertical and horizontal distance here calculation. But here what happens in, if you are working with Euclidean distance, the distance between the 2 points here while calculating in the Euclidean, you can calculate in any direction. Here it is considering vertical and direction, so dimensionality it affects. So preferably we use Euclidean distance. So which distance we will use for okay, next question would be which distance formula we will be using for calculating the distance between the categorical variables? If you have categorical data type, which distance we will be using? We are using humming distance. This will be used for calculating this categorical variable. How we calculate the distance means, if we have two categorical variables, means if they are same, it will be taking as one. If they are different, means if A and A means the same type category, then it is one. If it is different, A and B, it is different. That is different means it will be taking zero, like that. Here we can't, in categorical variable we will be not having numerical values, right? So we are using that type for this one. I think you are clear. I will be going to the next question. Okay, next question. Sorry, guys. Sorry. One second. One second, guys. One second. I will be back. One second. Sorry, guys. Sorry. One second, guys. Sorry. Now I am audible. Am I clear? Please respond in the chat window. Okay. Next question will be, we talked about Gauss algorithm. Okay. What is the distance? Visible. Okay. Next question will be, what are the advantages and disadvantages of um, K-means algorithm? Please respond in chat window. Yeah, Chris is right. Now you can use. Okay. Other than that, It takes a long time. Okay. Next. Other than that. Okay. Main advantage of, okay, you are responded only to a responded. Okay. Main advantage of gaming testing is it is simple to use. It is simple to use. Sorry. Am I clear now? Guys, from where did you missed advantages and disadvantages? Did you missed, guys? Please respond in chat window. If you had missed, I will cover that part once again. Please respond in chat window quickly. I will, so that I can repeat which part I had you guys had missed because of my audio. You missed disadvantages. Okay, fine, sure. Okay, I will talk with about advantages and disadvantages once again. Advantages of this type of clustering is mainly it is simple. Simple means it is easy to understand and easy to implement. This is what the advantage is. When it another advantage is computation efficiency for both training and prediction is easy for this type of K-means algorithm. And here convergence takes place very easily in k-means algorithm when compared to other types of algorithms. But when we come to the disadvantages, here it is most sensitive to the it is sensitive for the outliers. K-means type of algorithm. What happens if you have a data set something like this? Means here this type of this is the original clustering. This is the original cluster which we have. If you have this type of clustering, it should have means this is one cluster and this is another cluster. Like that it should do clustering. But when we take the k-means clustering, it picks the one this point as a centroid and this point as a centroid. When this picks these 2 points as a centroid, it forms the clusters like this. Means this all the red points are formed as one cluster and these all blue points are formed as another cluster. So here this is the main disadvantage for this type of means which are not in spherical forms, means the clusters which are not in spherical forms and which have irregular shapes. It is difficult to do clustering in k-means. And even density, if the density of the clusters means you can see here it is densely packed, it is loosely packed like this. If density of the clusters here, so if we have density like this here, this is the original clusters how it should form. But this how this should form, and that these are 1 2 and 1 2 and 3 clusters it should form. But actual scenario in the k-means clustering, when we do the clustering, it doesn't form something like that. If it picks some 3 points something like this, it forms this all as one cluster and this has one more cluster and this has a one more cluster. So what happens means this is what the we don't need. We need like these clusters. If the density differ in density, if the data set, if all are equally densely distributed, then it works fine. If there are difference in density is there between the clusters, then it is difficult for the clustering. So this is the main disadvantage. This type of data sets cannot be clustered. Okay, please respond for the next question. Do we have any accuracy metrics for k-means clustering? I think your chat window is coming slow. Okay. Next, do we have any accuracy metrics for k-means clustering? Okay, we don't have any accuracy metrics for k-means clustering because it's an unsupervised learning. Here we are not predicting the any output, means we are not predicting the parameter output. We are not any predicting output parameters, so we don't have any accuracy metrics uh, to measure so we don't have. If you want to see how the clusters means accuracy something, if you talk about the k-means, it should have least intercluster distance, and it should have means minimum distance within the cluster should be less and between the cluster should be more. That is what the only thing we can have. Okay, let's go for the next question. Sorry guys, here it is raining in Hyderabad, so some network issue might be there. If anything voice is not clear, you please respond in chat window. Okay. Next question would be, does centroid initialization affects K-means algorithm? I will be giving 1 minute for you to respond. Okay. See, yes, yes. The final result of the K-means algorithm depends on the centroid initialization. How means you are seeing here only. Let's take here only. Let's take here only. The centroid would have initialized. The centroid would have initialized somewhere something like here and here and here. You think if the task has been initialized something like that, it would have formed some cluster something like this, not exactly like this, something like this, and here it would have done like this, and here it would have done like this. If the initialization itself it is taking from here and next point is here and next point is here, then it forms the cluster something like this. So initialization, initialization plays an important role for the cluster formation. What are the next question would be, okay, so we have the problem with initialization, then how to overcome this problem? In order to overcome this problem, guys, screen is visible. I think Shalini, it is visible. I am looking into the YouTube live another place, but it's visible. I think it's a issue from your side, I think. What are the ways to avoid the problem of initialization? The games. What are the ways to avoid the problem of initialization sensitivity in the K-means algorithm? I will be giving 1 minute for you to respond. Okay, no problem. Yeah, for this initialization sensitivity, we have two methods. Two methods to avoid this problem. One is repetitive K-means. Another one is K-means plus plus. What does the repetitive k means? Repetitive k means it basically repeats the algorithm again and again along with the initialization, so that centroids followed pickups the cluster, which results in small interclusters distance and small intercluster distance and large intercluster distance. Means what I am trying to say is distance within the clusters will be less, and distance outside the cluster means between the clusters should be more. Like that, it repeats, means the algorithm tries to repeat again and again in this method, but it is not preferred. But this method is not preferred because even though it is repetitive, even it may leads to the wrong solutions. So here we have k-means plus plus. It is one of the good thing where centroid initialization takes place very in a proper manner. Like okay, what is k-means plus plus? How it works? Next question would be k-means plus plus. How it works? In that I will be explaining in depth. How the initialization takes place in k-means plus plus algorithm. Here, if you see, if you have a point something like this, you have a number of points something like this. Here, what happens means in k-means plus plus algorithm, if you had given a 3 points, if you had given a 3 points, first initial point, if we select it at a random, it selects one initial point, but then it doesn't select all the 3 points randomly. Next, it calculates the distance between the every points in these clusters, and then it selects the second point somewhere here, means which is having a far distance from this point, which is having a maximum distance from that point. It will select it as a second point. Next, before selecting the third point, it select the point such that it should third point should be far away from this point as well as this point. It selects something like this here, so that now what happens if the clusters are forming, it is easily forming, so that now clusters are distributed easily, so that all the points are not coming at the same point, and the same cluster uh, in the same clusters, means the points which are belonging to the same cluster doesn't fall under the different clusters. This is how k-means plus plus works. How do you design, how to decide the optimal number of k in the k-means algorithm? How to decide the optimal number of k in k-means algorithm? I will be giving 1 minute for you to respond, guys. Yes. One person has responded. Elboker. Only Elboker. Do we have any other method? Elboker or Scriplot. Do we have any other method? Another one is out method. Okay. Here in this Elboker method, we will be plotting TSS, total sum of the squares versus number of points. You will be getting something like this. Means you are sorry for my background. here the number of clusters will be there. Wherever the elbow like point you are getting, you will be picking that one. Means something like this and this. See here it is having distance. This one, when it suddenly it becomes reduced. This is part is reduced. This is having a wherever it drops gradually. This point will be considered in elbow curve. This is how we do in script one. And the sellout method is here we calculate in this method. Uh, in this method, what we do, we will be calculating similarity and dissimilarity score between the clusters, assigned clusters, and then that and next best cluster for each of the data points will be calculated, and that in that best we will be doing that. Next question will be 13. Is it possible that assigning a data point to the cluster does not change in the successive iteration in K-means algorithm? Okay, we see it. Assignment of the data point to does not change between successive iteration. Okay, where did you miss my voice, guys? Okay, okay, I will explain this 14 questions once again because I found in chat window no audio issue. Uh, what are the possible stopping conditions in K-means algorithm? The possible stopping conditions for K-means algorithm is maximum number of iterations. Number two is when RSS falls below the threshold. And number three is convergence. Number four is stability. What is the maximum number of iterations means? Maximum number of iterations is this condition, the condition limit of a runtime of a cluster algorithm we will be giving. So that quality of the cluster will be means if it in this number of times it starts from one, it's the point is jumping from one cluster to another cluster. After this number of iterations, it should stop. That is what the minimum number of iterations. When RSS falls below the threshold, RSS falls below the threshold means within some of the squares, the distance within some of the squares, when it falls below the threshold value, then that is called as, then that point is called as RSS. RSS when it falls below the threshold. Then what is the convergence? Convergence I explained in the previous question. What it means convergence when the point stays in the same cluster of the algorithm. Means if you have two clusters, two different clusters, and when the point stops jumping from one cluster to another clusters, when it stops jumping from one cluster to another cluster, means then it has attained the convergence. Next is stability. Stability means the centroid. What the centroid of the cluster, whatever the cluster here we had formed, whatever the centroid point which is formed in this cluster, it is not changing for next iteration. Then if it is sitting in the same position, means it is attained to stability. The cluster has attained stability. These are the stopping criteria for the K-means algorithm. Okay, let me take next question. What are the effects of the number of variables on the K-means algorithm? Please respond in the chat window, guys. Here, the number of variable here, what happens means in this K-means algorithm, the number of algorithms going to K-means algorithm will have an impact on both the timing, means duration of the training. Training, it takes long time for training, and complexity along with the behavior of the algorithms as well. Here, what happens means because of the size of the data, if the features means variables are more, then it leads to a problem of curse of dimensionality. This what happens means as a dimension of the data increases and more example means more and more points become nearest neighbor, so that it affects the randomness effectively. So this is what the problem we are going to face when we have large number of variables. Uh, okay, guys. For today, we will be ending this session here. Please respond in the chat window. I think today my audio was not that clear because some rain issue, network issue, but this won't be repeated in for the next further sessions. Sorry guys, sorry for that. Okay, thank you all.